CWU, Center for Women Entrepreneurs. We're so happy to have all of you join us in our first RISE Zoom meeting. For those of you that don't know who we are, the Center for Women Entrepreneurs was funded in 2015 by the state legislature just to help promote women in business anywhere in the state of Texas. So we do that through professional development like this. We do this the second Tuesday of every month. Typically it's in Denton with a free breakfast and a speaker. Today is our first live Zoom recording. We are also going to be streaming this live on Facebook. So if you're there and want to share that with people in your network, feel free to go ahead and do that. And aside from this, we do small business advising. So if anybody needs some help at this time or how to pivot, please feel free to reach out to us for that. We also do funding. We have given away micro grants in the past. Several of our winners are on today and we're happy to see them. We are wrapping up our big grant program as well. So again, I welcome all of you and we hope you will visit us again, either online or in person. We'd love to meet you. Today, Donna Lisa Stinyard, our program coordinator, is going to be the moderator for the rest of this. So again, welcome, and we're so happy to have all of you here.
So good morning. We are so excited to have you guys here. We've got 84 of you online, so that is awesome. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started. You may want to change your name in the corner, but regretfully, on our back end, we've kind of put a lot of security measures in place because we did hear some of the stuff, the Zoom bombing and all of that kind of stuff. And so in an effort to try to keep things family friendly and to make sure that everybody that's here gets good quality programming, we kind of shut down a few of those items. I believe once you get out, a lot of you that are like Zoom professionals probably know how to go back in and be able to fix that. The other thing that we're going to do is, because we have so many people on the call, we're not able to do the actual networking like we normally do. So what we want to do is ask you to go ahead in the chat box, and hopefully we've got everything set up where the chat is actually being recorded as well. Drop your business link in there, and then that way when people go back through the recording or look at the chat, they can see your business, what you're doing, and if they would like to connect with you. So you are all muted, and we would ask that you stay muted throughout the program so that we don't have a lot of background noise. You've got control of your video, so if you've got to step away or got to go take the dog out or the kids come in or whatever, you can go ahead and do the video. And are we getting some, yep, Denton Dance is here. Crunchy Girl Granola, we've got her here this morning. Welcome. My Sassy Canvas, hey girl, hey. Modern Grace Catholic Store, welcome, welcome. Stephanie Compton from our TWU library is here. She never misses us, ever. Welcome. We've got the Cheesa Pleasa lady. So excited to see you. So we've got a lot more. Thank you guys again so much for being here. So this morning, I am so excited for this one. Mary Robb is the founder of Social Practice, a social media agency that serves locally owned businesses in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She was born with an entrepreneurial spirit. Mary learned a lot about business growth as she traveled all over the country with her mom on business trips. After graduating as a public relations major from Texas Tech University, she climbed the corporate ladder until she came up with her big idea, leaving her six-figure income in the summer of 2019. She is passionate about being a role model for women who also have big dreams to start their own business. To her, the future is female, and she shares all about her business and life on her personal blog, The Candid Millennial. So I am so excited to introduce Mary to you guys. I've been following her on Instagram for a little over a year now, and I will tell you, she has a lot of really great information. And if you are always looking for somebody to kind of model or an example, hit her up either at the Candid Millennial or her business Social Practice. And she is an excellent social media role model. So without further ado, good morning, Mary. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. I'm so excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you, and we're going to just let you take over.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to share my screen in just a second, but I just wanted to say really quick, thank you so much, Dawn and Lisa, for reaching out to me a few months ago about this group. I'm so excited to see all of your faces here on Zoom. I've been just quietly watching in the background, and I really hope that in the near future I can come to one of your meetings and meet everyone in person. I love women entrepreneurs. I love female-owned businesses. So I'm just so excited about this group. I was sad we couldn't do this in person, but I'm super thankful that you guys still put it on Zoom. So this is the best we can do, and that's good enough. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for allowing me to come in today. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Hopefully you guys can see this. Maybe in the chat box, if a few of you don't mind just typing in, you know, that you can see the screen just to confirm. I've got my chat box here on the other screen so I can see what you guys are talking about. So anyways, well, thank you so much, Dawn and Lisa, for the introduction. So today, I really wanted to share the best information that I have that's current and up to date in regards to social media for business. So like Dawn and Lisa said, my background and my passion is marketing, and I really have honed into social media because that is the future, it's the present, and there's so much power behind social media for any kind of business, whether you're product-based or service-based. So with that said, I have put together a presentation specifically for this group with some of the best tangible ways that you can use social media for your company. So I think, Dawn and Lisa, you probably already mentioned this, but I see that there's some questions coming through. We will address as many questions as we can at the end. So if you have a question that pops up during the presentation, please let me know and just put it in the chat box, and then we'll try and get to all of those. So we'll just go ahead and dive right in. So we already kind of covered my background. We'll just kind of skip over that piece there. So the first thing before I want to dive into, you know, the what and how of social media, this group, you guys are all business owners, so I'm pretty sure that you're pretty well aware and educated on the importance of social media. So I like to really focus on how it works and how you can use it for your business. So before I dive in, I like to explain the algorithm a little bit more. To keep it as simple as possible, there's three key things to consider when it comes to managing and creating content for your social media accounts. It's not as complicated as it might seem. So the three key things to look at are the quality of your content, the consistency of your content, and the amount of engagement that you are personally doing and that you're getting on your profile. So the social media algorithm is always changing. You know, Instagram's constantly changing, Facebook's constantly changing. But if you have quality content, and that includes things like the quality of the photos you're sharing, the subject matter, also just how relevant it is to your audience, that all falls under the bucket of quality. That's a big factor. Consistency, if you're posting daily, if you're showing up daily, if you're showing up weekly, those things make a huge difference too. If you're just posting once or twice a month, it's going to be really hard for the social media algorithm to choose you over those who are on the platforms daily. And then engagement, that's really going to be all about how often do you engage with your audience? Do you respond to all your comments? Do you respond to messages? Do you do a lot of outreach? Do you go out and engage with new people? That the algorithm does factor that as well. Because the whole purpose of social media is they want you to be spending time on these platforms. The only way they make money is if we're engaged on these platforms. So that's a huge, huge piece of it as well. So throughout this presentation, I'm gonna really hone in on these 3 key things. So just to kind of keep this all in mind is the whole goal of the social media algorithm is to show you content that you are most likely to engage with, to keep you on the app longer. So that's just kind of, I like to simplify things and make them, you know, pretty direct and straightforward. That's really the whole goal. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're going through all of this. So the next thing I wanted to talk through is the quality of your content. So this is kind of the first bucket, first category we'll look at. So really telling your story on social media. Start with the basics, the branding, the color, the aesthetic, the vibe that you're giving off. Do the colors all line up with your branding? Do you incorporate the colors of your logo? Any other marketing materials you have that aren't on social media, do those also align with your social media presence? What kind of look and feel is your business? What is your vibe? That's kind of a word that I use a lot, and it's just because it's easier to explain. You know, what kind of energy do you want your social media profile to bring? Also, just to drill down a little bit further, do you have specific filters or presets that you use on all of your images to create a more streamlined and consistent brand? These are some big things to consider. If someone comes to your profile and they look at your feed, or if they see your post in the feed, are they going to automatically look at it and say, oh, I know who that company is, or I know that business owner? So that's something to consider first and foremost with the quality. The second thing is, in telling your story, is having a diversity in the content that you're sharing. So an example of this is having 4 to 5 different subjects or 4 to 5 different key categories that you want to hit on a consistent basis. So instead of it being, it's easy to compare to a product-based business. So instead of every single post being a product, mix it up with different types of content, such as behind the scenes, tours, day in the life, Q&A with the owner, Q&A with staff, Q&A with a customer, customer testimonials, events that you're doing. Social media is definitely a great place to sell your product or service, but the first goal should be to build trust with your current audience, because trust will eventually lead to more sales. So how do you build trust? You really tell your story, you pull back the curtain and show the behind the scenes of your business. And that's also entertaining to people and educational. So that's just something to consider when it comes to creating your content. And last but not least, the quality of the content. Images need to be high resolution. They need to be a good quality. The nice thing about the decade that we're in, the generation we're in, we all have a smartphone. And I can't think of a smartphone that doesn't have a good quality camera. So you don't have to be an expert photographer. Actually, you know, I have my own blog. I'm also an influencer. I do a lot of networking with influencers, and at least half of them use their phone to create their content that looks high quality. I do have a DSLR camera, but it's not necessary. I actually don't use it as much as I use my phone. So definitely take advantage of the technology that you have at your fingertips. And, you know, you can take great photos, consider lighting and things like that. I'll kind of give a few more tips on that later on. And then the captions are also a part of the quality of your content. So written captions really should evoke a reaction. And I'm going to give some bigger tips there as well. But think about when you're writing out your content and your captions for your social media posts, what kind of reaction are you looking for? Okay. So with the quality of your content, I also wanted to dive in a little bit on editing your photos. What could really help out is if you have a consistent look and feel to all of the photos that you share. Some of the current photo editing apps, just if you guys don't have one that you prefer, or if you're looking for one, you can download these apps directly to your phone. And this is how you can start editing some of your photos to make them look consistent and also just make them a little bit more visually appealing. I show this as an example here in that the lighting of your photo and the colors and the vibrancy it all is going to affect how many people engage with it. So the better edited the photo is and the more professional it looks, in a sense, is going to help it get more eyeballs and more visibility. So a couple of photo editing apps, depending on what you're editing. Facetune is for people. That's a great one. You got to be really careful not to overdo it. And there's lots of jokes out there about that. But there's some great lighting settings in there that can really make a photo pop. Afterlight's another one. Canva's a free program that you can use if you need to crop or if you want to make a few small changes. Lightroom is owned by Photoshop. It's a little bit more advanced, but that's where all content creators out there use Lightroom. And you can download presets or create your own presets in there. And a preset is essentially a filter. This, what you're seeing right here, the before and the after has a preset applied. Even Apple Photos, so inside your Photos app on your phone, there is great editing tools just in the Photos. So if you just want to start there and just start playing around with it. And then Instagram filters, we don't really recommend that a whole lot. If you do add a filter, there's a way to decrease the amount of the filter that you're using. So sometimes we will share photos with about 20% of an actual Instagram filter versus 100%. Sometimes the way those look, you can just tell there's a filter. So the goal is to enhance the photo without making it look like it has a ton of editing. And then settings to look at when you are editing your photos would be the lighting, the shadows, the color, the sharpness, and the temperature. So these are just some quick tips and tricks on just editing photos so that they are a little bit higher quality looking so that you get more engagement on your photos. So switching gears over to consistency. So this is a huge thing that really will make or break your social media content strategy. And I like to talk a lot about planning because I strongly believe when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this is especially true with social media. As a business owner and just speaking to business owners, you know, it's really difficult to wear multiple hats all day, every day. And if you have a plan to just post on the fly, it's most likely not going to happen. So the easiest thing that I found for my business and for other businesses is to plan ahead. For our clients and for our business, we do quarterly chunks of content at a time, just because that's what we found the easiest and the most efficient way of doing it. Or you can do it month by month. So I'm going to give you guys some tips on how you can create a content strategy that will be executed. So it's not just sitting in your drafts or just sitting in a list of ideas that you have and never really implementing it. So start thinking about, have you developed a content plan? And these are some ideas for you here. So there is a concept out there called content batching. Some of you may have heard of it. Content batching is essentially where you create a batch of content at once. There's two pieces to the puzzle. It's your photos and your videos that you're going to use, and then it's the content that you're going to write. So with this in mind, the whole goal is to create a certain amount of content that you'll use and execute over a certain amount of time. So like I mentioned, quarterly. So what we'll do is we'll sit down once a quarter and we will pull our brainstorming list and we'll look at it and we'll place the ideas in that brainstorming list into our content calendar, and then we will create the content. So the way that this can kind of look is the first biggest thing here would be to have a brainstorm list of ideas and topics. Depending on what platform you prefer, I use the notes in my iPhone because that syncs to my MacBook and my iPad. So no matter what I'm doing, I can always add to that note. You could also use a Google Doc. That's great because you can access that anywhere, no matter what device you're on. Or if you prefer a Word doc, there's other notepad apps out there. But basically, have one spot that is where you have a list of topics of things that you wanted to share on social media. Because like I said earlier, it's hard to be creative on the spot when you're wearing so many hats. And if you're a highly creative person, that's awesome. And maybe it's not as difficult for you, but it's difficult to have creative ideas constantly. So have one spot where you list out all of these ideas. For me, it's 10 o'clock at night when I'm trying to go to bed and my mind's racing. I come up with my best ideas, I swear. And so I have it on my phone, on my notes app in terms of topic ideas, just because it's easy for me to add to it when I think of something. So once you have a pretty good brainstorm list going, that's whenever you want to then pull those from the list and start building them out into your content calendar. So what you'll do is you can create a content calendar either in Google Sheets, that's the same thing as Microsoft Excel, or Google Documents, the same thing as Word, Microsoft Word, and then start building out your content plan for the upcoming month or the upcoming quarter. After that step, then you'll look at actually creating the content. So that's whenever you're going to want to put together or book a photo shoot, either with yourself or with your business partners or your team, to set aside a 2-hour window or a 4-hour window, however long you think it'll take, to get enough photos to cover the content topics that you're going to share. Instead of, like I mentioned earlier, the whole goal is to try and eliminate as much on-the-fly content as possible. Now, it is good to have stories. Stories are a day in the life, they're behind the scenes, those are great. But when we're talking about actual posts, it'll just be a lot easier, it'll be less stressful to have content already planned for you and for your business. So the way you can do that, again, is by having a photo shoot. Do photo and video. You can do it with your iPhone, you can do it with a DSLR, whatever you prefer, and get enough photos to last 2 to 3 months. And with that in mind, look at your content calendar and your content topic sheet and try and get photos related to what you're wanting to share. So again, just kind of planning ahead and batching these tasks so that you're covered for about a quarter's worth of time. Once you have your photos all taken and once you've edited them, then you will actually write the posts, write the captions that go with the images and videos. So that process really is the second to last step. And then the last thing you'll want to do is schedule all the content. So this is going to be through a couple of different apps that I will recommend. So this screen here, schedule all of your content. These are the tools that we have found to work the best. Now, I will say everyone's different in terms of what tools you work the best with. So I do recommend trying out 1 or 2 and just finding what works best for you. For us, for our business, we actually currently use Buffer because it has a feature that on Instagram, you can schedule your first comment. So hashtags, we'll talk about hashtags in a minute. Hashtags are important to get visibility to your content. So what we'll do is we will schedule the hashtags as a first comment in our Instagram posts instead of inside the caption. Because it'll just help clean up the caption a little bit, and it also allows us to add more hashtags because right now you can have up to 30 hashtags per post or per comment. So that's why we use Buffer, but we also loved Hootsuite. Later is another one. It's really built more for Instagram and Pinterest. That one's a really great one. Tailwind's another one. For Facebook content, you can actually schedule Facebook content inside the Facebook business page. And if you do run a Facebook group, you can schedule content through that group as well, if you're an admin. So just depending on what kind of content you're doing and how you're engaging with these platforms, different tools work for different reasons. But I would say as a rule of thumb, Hootsuite or Buffer are the 2 ones that work the best just for anyone or any kind of business. So the next thing I wanted to talk through is the consistency factor and just why this is so important and how the algorithm looks at it. So these are the 3 big things to consider. The first thing is timing. So how recent was this post shared? So this is what the algorithm and the newsfeed is looking for. This has recently changed a little bit. Actually, Instagram changed this, I would say maybe almost a year ago, and it really did not sit well with a lot of people. So they kind of have moved a little bit back more towards this. Although it's not a perfect, your newsfeed's not in a chronological order. So, and I think a lot of people understand at this point, but it does have some relevance still. So the timing and how recent your post was shared, it's going to be one factor of how relevant that post will be in a newsfeed. The next, and I would say probably one of the biggest things, is how engaged is the post. So the posts that have more engagement tend to get moved up higher in a person's newsfeed. So this is going to be important. This is why I'm going to talk about engagement in a few more slides and how important it is. So The newsfeed looks at how many likes the posts are getting, how many comments they're getting, if someone has shared it or bookmarked it, tagged it, or done any mentions on it. That's going to be huge. So one of the goals that we're going to want for our social media content is we want our posts to get engagement, because that will help more people see it. And then the other thing to consider is the people who have engaged with your social media profiles in the past and who consistently engage with their social media profiles, they are going to see your posts more consistently than those who don't engage. So this is just all to put into perspective that even if you're putting content out there, it doesn't necessarily mean that people are seeing it. And it's a great way to kind of start thinking about how engagement works and why it is important to not just post content, but to engage with other people so that they will hopefully come back and engage with you. So that kind of leads us into the engagement conversation. And this is something that I will say, this is the biggest thing that I see business owners kind of slacking in this category, because it's definitely a time commitment. It is something that takes time, it takes effort. And any brands that you follow, or influencers or bloggers or content creators or businesses that have a large following, that do have a large amount of likes and comments on their posts, I promise you their secret sauce is all about their engagement. Quality content matters just as much as engagement matters. So I've been to several meetings and conferences that are hosted by these big influencers and bloggers and content creators that have millions of followers. And every single one of them will tell you they spend between 2 and 4 hours a day just engaging with people on social media, and that's how they've been able to grow their following. So the way to think of this, in a perfect world, this is what it would look like. And I know that this is kind of challenging, but the 80-20 rule with engagement applies in that 80% of your time spent on social media should be spent engaging with other people, and 20% should be spent on the actual content creation process. So that means the photo shoot, the writing, the posting. That should only be about 20% of the time spent. The rest of the time spent should be on reaching out and engaging with other people. So, and this all brings it back to, you know, if you're creating high quality content, what good is your content if no one is engaging with it? So it's super important. So if you're going to take the time to put quality content out there, you should definitely take the time to engage with others. So I'm going to give you some ideas on how you can do this. The first thing to consider is, who is your target audience for your business? Who are they? So first and foremost, the easy things. Where do they live? How old are they? Are they male or female? Next bucket is, what do they like? Where do they shop? What do they consume? What do they care most about? And last but not least, you can definitely use hashtags and locations to your advantage. You can help your target audience find you by using your city, your location, and local hashtags. So I'm going to dive into each of these a little bit more. So where do they live? So this is a way that you can reach these people. On Facebook, I'll start there. Facebook groups are very powerful in reaching new audiences. Finding Facebook users and groups that are within your industry are very important. So for me, for example, I do professional social media services for other businesses. So I'm in several local business owner Facebook groups where we network and we talk about things, and we also have opportunities once a week to share what we do and how we do it. On an Instagram level, one way that you can find people is you can look at any posts that are tagged in a certain city and engage with those. So what I'll do for our profile is I'll look at anyone that's tagged Dallas, Texas, and I will go and engage with those posts. I'll take it a step further and I'll look at, for our business specifically, we have a couple of different niche verticals that we work in. Right now it's medical practices and real estate. And that's not all we serve, but it's two very easy ways that we can niche down. So I look at local doctor's offices. I look at local real estate businesses, and I engage with those people on Instagram, so in hopes that they will come back and follow me and engage with my content as well. Another way to look at it, and this is something that I consult on quite frequently, is just to kind of give a concrete example. If I've got a plastic surgeon client, I will explain to them how it's important to engage and find people who would also be interested in their profile. So if someone is interested in the way that they look, or they care about their appearance, or they care about, you know, living a life of luxury, let's say, we will look at people who have checked into local businesses that kind of fall into a similar bucket. So we might look at a local hair salon or a local spa, maybe a local nail salon, whatever it is. And we will engage with those profiles. And it's not considered to be, you know, kind of creepy or whatever, because if someone's profile is public, they know that they're opening themselves up to other people engaging. So the way it can look is you find people that might be a potential candidate for your business, like a few of their latest posts, comment on their most recent post, something friendly and nice, you know, oh, that looks like so much fun, or oh, you look great. Definitely not a sales pitch, definitely not anything like, you know, oh, you should definitely come and visit my store, at least not right out of the gate. Now, you can build that relationship, but I do try to be careful about being too salesy in the beginning. But these are the kind of things that'll help grow your visibility and grow your followers and grow your engagement. You can also use hashtags. So depending on the business that you're in, you can use hashtags to find your target audience. So again, back to in our business, plastic surgeons are a big candidate for us. They do a lot of social media content creating, and a lot of them need our support. So we will look at hashtags like plastic surgeon, plastic surgery Dallas, plastic surgery Fort Worth. So think about the different kinds of hashtags that you can apply to your business to find your target candidate and your target audience. And then a couple of ways to engage with people that are already somewhat engaged with you. These are some easy things to do just right out of the gate. Respond to every comment that you get, even if it's just an emoji. Instagram and Facebook look at that as part of an algorithm factor, and it's really a great way to show that your posts are being engaged with, and it shows us more comments. Also, be sure to respond to all messages. There's definitely an algorithm factor is in play there as well. It's not a huge one, but it's still an important one. Another thing that we like to do as well is have a couple of different templates on the notepad in your phone on how you want to respond to messages. So an example of that is when we get new followers, we like to message them a thank you note for following us. So they know that we recognize that follow. And what we've done is we've created a template so that way we have a consistent message, and that way we are able to reach more people without having to type up a full-blown message to every single person that follows us, because that does take quite a bit of time. So we have different templates that we've created for our business that we use to message new followers. Now, a really neat tip that I learned at one of the group meetings that I was at is you can actually do a voice message welcoming a new follower. So if you don't feel like using a typed up message, I have found that these voice messages really do wonders. They do great. So if you get a new follower, you can just go into their profile, message them, send them a quick 15-20 second message saying, hey, I'm so thankful that you followed us today. Let me know if I can help you with anything related to XYZ, related to your business. Let me know what I can do to serve you. Those do really well. Those are time intensive, but if there's a way that you can work that into your schedule, maybe for 5 or 10 new followers a week, it can definitely help keep those people engaged, and it's really exciting for them to actually hear a human behind your brand. All right, so just to kind of dive into hashtags a little bit more, hashtags are a really great way to get your content in front of more people, because the way hashtags are used is people will follow a certain hashtag based on the things they're interested in. So a really easy one to look at is real estate. So if someone's in the market to buy a home, if someone's passionate about, you know, interior design or remodeling, or maybe they're an investor and they buy properties, the hashtag real estate is a very commonly used hashtag that people can follow in their newsfeed and see the latest post being used. So every industry, every niche, every business has hashtags out there that you could use to get more people to your profile. So the way to do this is in posts on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Add the same set of hashtags that are all tied to your business for all of your posts. So the way that you can do this on Instagram, you can add the hashtags to the comment section of your posts. That's best case scenario. If you can't do that, if you don't have a tool like Buffer, that's okay, but it does help clean it up a little bit more and make it look a little bit more professional. Some different hashtags to consider. Look at the city that your product or your service is in. If you're selling a product that you can ship nationwide, maybe hashtag some of the largest markets that you're in, or hashtag some of the largest cities that you sell your product to. If you're service-based, same exact idea. Hashtag the cities that you're in, hashtag the markets where you get the most traction and where most of your customers are. Also, always hashtag your business name. It'll just help brand you better. Hashtag the industry you're in. So we always will hashtag things like social media marketing, marketing agency, things like that. So hashtag kind of that industry specific, because there are going to be people out there that follow that kind of content as well. And then another little rule of thumb, the reason I put this screenshot in here is the hashtags that you're going to get the most value out of are the ones that have between 50,000 and 500,000 uses across the platform. So Instagram, if you go into Instagram and you type in a hashtag, you'll see a list of hashtags that populate below it. And there's a number beneath. So it says real estate agent has 6.5 million posts. That's a lot of content out there already. Hashtag real estate investing, that has 1 million. If you go down a little bit further, real estate goals has 410,000 posts. So really your secret spot, your sweet spot, it's going to be the hashtags that have between 50,000 and 500,000 uses. 50,000 is kind of a minimum place to start. If it has less than that, it just means that there's not a ton of people looking at this, so it may not be relevant. Now that rule doesn't always apply. If you're a very niche industry, you can still try it out. And hashtags are definitely a very big kind of A and B testing situation. It's not one size fits all. So each industry is going to be different. So it's worth testing out some. Oh, there goes my earring. It's worth testing out a couple of hashtags and just seeing what works best for your business and what gets you the most visibility. But if you're looking for some guidance, I would choose anything between 50,000 and 500,000 uses as a starting place. So I'm kind of starting to wrap up here, but another way to position all of this with consistency. Followers, we want our followers to eventually become friends, and we want our friends to eventually become clients. Whenever you show up consistently, whenever you share consistently, whenever you engage consistently, you're going to build trust with your audience, and trust sells. So again, to kind of bring this full circle, social media is a very powerful platform to sell your product, but it's not a direct sales platform. So it's all about telling that story and building trust, but it does come full circle when it's done properly, and there's major, major power in it. So what a daily presence really looks like, and how you can kind of position this in your head. For me, I have a 30-minute to 60-minute window each day where my time is focused on my social media presence. And what that looks like is responding to all my comments, responding to all my messages. It's sharing a social media post daily, which that is actually planned ahead of time. So it's really not a big time suck in my day-to-day. But it is something that I will go on there and make sure that it's been posted and make sure that it looks good. Also engaging with others daily. So using the tips I just shared, reaching out to new people, engaging with them, commenting on their posts, messaging people, and then last but not least, connecting with clients or followers beyond the app. So it's going in and finding ways to reach people and to engage with them and inviting them to be a part of your community, to be a part of your brand, to engage with your business. So it's just a couple of ways to really utilize social media to your advantage. It's all within that daily presence and that daily check-in. So to kind of wrap things up, I did want to share one of my favorites. Jenna Kutcher is a business owner, female business owner. She's a powerhouse. If you guys don't follow her, she is the owner of the Goal Digger podcast. She has the most incredible marketing, social media, business podcast. She's got hundreds of episodes. She's interviewed with tons of different people. So if you're looking for more inspiration, she has a ton of great content, but she always talks about how social media, it's not a sales pitch. It's just an invite for others in your community to join you off the app. So again, there's so much opportunity, and just to kind of bring it all together, think about your community, think about your brand and your business and how you can engage with your followers and your community and really serve them in the best way possible. So I'm wrapping it up, and I think, Donna Lisa, we are open and ready to do some questions.
Okay, so go ahead and put your questions in the chat box. I do have a couple that we did pick up. Sarah M., she says, talking about planning content every quarter, what about relevant things that come up last minute that are time bound? And I know some of the other comments after that was kind of like any kind of, you know, when the COVID-19 hit, or any kind of like, you know, tragedy. Some tips on that, Mary?
Yeah, so related to things that come up last minute, that's absolutely something that will just have to be addressed event by event, or you know, occasion by occasion. But the whole purpose of the content planning is to have, let's say, about at least 80% of that piece of the puzzle done. The whole goal is to eliminate as much on the fly work as possible, because what we found is that if you just rely on, you know, oh, I'm just going to come up with something tomorrow, it's less likely that it's going to happen. So, but if you know, things come up, absolutely, you want to share. That's what stories are great for. Also, if you have content that you want to post, that's fine too. So it definitely doesn't mean that you shouldn't post on the fly when things come up. It's just, the whole purpose is to plan ahead as much as you can, just so that you don't, so that you can get higher quality content and more strategically placed content. Related to COVID-19, so that's interesting. It definitely, for our business and for our clients, that was a huge, you know, our hours doubled when all that happened, because basically everything we had planned for, we had to either redo or, you know, completely get rid of and start over from scratch. So when, you know, global catastrophes happen, or when disasters happen, it's definitely something that will impact your content strategy. I will say, for a majority of our clients, what we ended up doing was about half the content had to get dumped, or I won't say dumped, we basically moved it or saved it for later. And then the other half of the content, we adjusted the message behind it to make sure that it was still being sensitive to what's going on, but also a positive way to kind of get people, you know, excited about the future. So it's definitely, you have to kind of address those things as they come.
Okay, from Kachina, she said, and I think this is a really great question too, how do you create enough unique content while under quarantine?
So it depends on your business. So it depends on what you do. It's actually a great time if you're like a brick and mortar and you have a storefront, or you know, your physical location is closed and your product is all based on that, that's going to be a little more challenging. But actually what we found is that during quarantine, it's a great time to start creating content and content batching. Whether it's creating content around your house, you can always like go to a public place. It's again going to depend on what kind of product or service you offer. But for example, if you wanted to share or educate your audience on something or be useful to them, you can still record video in your office. You can still take photos. I mean, we're still creating content the past month, even though, you know, business is closed for a lot of people. I think I would have to know, you know, what specific businesses you're talking about, and I can give you a ton of great ideas. And but it's definitely still possible, and it's actually a great time to go ahead and start creating content. And maybe even if it's not the photo and video aspect, maybe it's just writing out your content. Maybe it's looking ahead and just writing it all out for now, and then knowing that you're going to go and get a certain photo, a certain video to match that post whenever you're able to. But it's definitely, what we found is a good time to start, you know, content batching, because it seems like people have a little bit more time. Again, this is dependent on what industry you're in, because some people actually don't have any time at all because they're scrambling right now. But If you are someone who has found that you are a little bit more flexible in your time right now, you can still create content at home. And even if you have a product-based business, you can set up, certain areas in your home to take gorgeous photos of products. It's all about the lighting. It's all about the background. I know that you can have, I've seen different product-based companies. They're coming out with different product posts, and they're just using, taking photos in their kitchen in the morning light whenever it's really bright and pretty, or maybe they're going in their backyard. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can still create content, even though we're stuck at home right now.
Okay, we had a couple about engagement. I know a lot of people are, you either get the bots or you get, and we'll just say it, like the creepy guy. How do you get real engagement? And I think you touched on it, but maybe going over it again, Mary.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to be all about who you are engaging with. And to try and put this more in perspective, it's definitely, you want to be strategic about it. Engaging with your friends and family is great, but are they customers of your product? Are they buying your product? Are they your ideal target audience? Because if you're only engaging with them, you might not see that benefit. So really think about who is your target audience, but also who's also in your industry that wants to support you as well. So it's about who are you engaging with? Who are you reaching out to? Are they someone who is a target customer, or are they someone who also is in your industry who might also come back and support you? Because part of it's going to be how many comments do you have that builds credibility. So what a lot of influencers do, for example, is they all engage with each other to build up how many comments they have, to build up how many likes they have, so that their target customers see that they're being engaged with, and that helps build credibility and trust. So if you're able to go and not only engage with your target customer, but also engage with, maybe it's local businesses and supporting their content and engaging with their stuff. Maybe it's people who are also in your industry, even if it's a friendly competitor, engaging with their content, telling them how great they're doing in hopes that they'll come back and engage with you as well. It's kind of like the whole idea of, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine, vice versa. So that's something to consider. And it's difficult to totally get rid of the bots and the creepy people. The best advice I have is either to just ignore it, delete it, or block it. I mean, there's really no way to completely avoid that forever, indefinitely. But if you want a higher quality audience, then I would suggest going out and finding who that audience is and engaging with them in hopes to get them to come back to engage with you as well. Okay, great.
So Carrie asked, how often do you recommend a video on Instagram?
That's a great question. So video is huge right now. People are spending more time in the stories than they are in the feed. So if you're going to do video, I would strongly suggest posting videos to your stories. If you can do a video 1 out of every 3 posts, that would be phenomenal. Video just tends to get more engagement. It gets more visibility. And the kind of the secret or the safe space for a video is between like 30 and 90 seconds, depending on what you're talking about and what your platform is. So video is a great way to tap in and reach more people, because it does tend to get more visibility.
Okay, we've got one from Lynn. She's our Cheesa Pleasa lady, one of our grant recipients. What are types of new engagement questions that you have found most successful?
New engagement questions.
I think she's probably, and Lynn, you can send me a private message if I'm not getting it correctly. I'm thinking it's like, sometimes you put out a really good post that you think is really good, but you don't get a lot of engagement. But then, you post a picture of your dog or your husband or something, and it kind of blows up. So, I mean, I think, what seems to be, I know you, how often can you mix that kind of content with what you're promoting?
Mm-hmm. So I do get that question a lot. It's a great question. And it's totally true. The personal photos, the selfies, the family photos, the vacation, whatever it is, those tend to get a ton of engagement, because you have to kind of think about, why are people going on social media? The answer is usually they're trying to escape, they're bored, they're looking to be entertained. So that's why it is important to think about your content strategy. I do advocate for putting that kind of stuff out there. I think it's a great way to boost your engagement, because when you put that content out there and you get all the engagement, it brings you back up to the relevant, it brings your content back up in the newsfeed. So how frequent would I do that? I mean, it's going to depend on the industry you're in, the business you're running, and your brand. I would say anywhere between every 3 to 6 posts. Maybe in a more business professional setting, maybe 1 every 6. Another way to do that too is to have your followers, your customers, share photos of them using your product or giving a testimonial of your service and then sharing that. That's a very authentic thing you can do. And those tend to get engagement as well, because it doesn't look super strategically placed, but it's just, you know, a way to tell a story. But that's a great question, and I'm a big advocate for that as well. You know, if it's done properly, and you know, it's not every single post is of your dog, but you know, you share them frequently so that people get to know who you really are as a person.
Right. So we've got time for one more question, and I'm going to combine these two together. So if you're doing a Facebook Live, about how long should you stay live? And then the other one is about Instagram Live, and how often should you do them, and how to make them successful.
Yes. So to the live thing. So it's interesting because that's changing constantly. There's pros and cons to it, and it also depends on what your goals are. I have found that the lives that are the most successful are either people who have built an online community, and I'm talking tens of thousands of followers. People who are almost like celebrities or influencers or micro-influencers. Those types of profiles and brands tend to get a ton of hits on lives. For a while there, using a live actually would help you in the algorithm. But there's some new research out there that basically is saying that the lives might not be as effective as originally thought. Now, Facebook is a different animal. Facebook, maybe the only problem with live is that you're limiting the captured audience of whoever's currently online. So if you can see that too on Instagram and on Facebook, how many people are online right now? So for example, the other day I was about to do a live. It said 70 of my 4,000 followers were active on Instagram. I thought, wow, that's really not that many. So I'm actually in the process of experimenting with this, but I would say it's still worth trying. But if you would rather pre-record a video and just post it, I think that's going to do just as well, if not better. And then on Instagram, something that continues to be kind of a little secret is uploading to Instagram TV. There's apparently some benefit to that in terms of Instagram is really competing with Facebook right now, or I'm sorry, YouTube. And Instagram wants, you know, they want to host videos. And so Instagram TV is meant for videos between 1 minute and 15 minutes. Instagram Lives are typically around that time frame. So if you want to do an Instagram TV, it's still a pre-recorded video. You upload it to IGTV. It shows up as a post in your feed. That's a great way to utilize video and still kind of address that content. But I think it's going to depend on the kind of business you're in. If you're more in a consulting position, if you get a lot of people asking you a lot of questions all the time, and you're like a coach, or you're selling your knowledge, and that a live will be great for that. But it just kind of depends on what you're doing.
Tracy, did you have any questions?
I think most of the ones have already been answered already, or they're part of what somebody again, we've already answered. There were a couple on the grant. Please know that we have had an enormous response. We are going through all of those applications now. Everybody should be notified within 30 days. And so I think that is all that I have right now. We are going to have this on, you're going to post this on our website, Donna Lisa?
Yeah, so no, actually, so first off, Mary, thank you so much. There was so much great information, and because I was monitoring the chat box, I'm gonna have to go back through and watch it again. Just as being the social media person for the Center for Women Entrepreneurs, there was a lot of great tips on there. And so thank you so much. Thank you for being so flexible and being willing to do this virtually. Again, I hope one day we can all meet in person. I think that would be a really great thing for us to have you come back out and speak to us again. So go ahead.
I was just going to say too, I saw that there were some questions in the chat. If you guys do have questions about social media, the easiest way to reach out to me is either on Instagram, just direct message me at socialpracticetx, and I can answer your questions individually. And it is, I can get more strategic with it too if I know the kind of business you're in. So I'm more than happy to help you. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, just search my name, Mary Robb. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you for letting me be a part of this group. And I hope to meet you guys all soon in person.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for extending your offer to help people outside of here. That's really great. Okay, so real quick, we do have a few announcements. The first one is this is going to be recorded, or it was recorded, and we will be sending out the link to you from Eventbrite. So whatever email you signed up with is the email that you will get this link from. And then we do have a couple of events that are coming up that we would like to share with you. The first one, we're going to do an evening workshop on April 28th from 6 to 7. It's Pivoting Your Business During COVID-19, a panel discussion with 3 women-owned small businesses. And Kimberly from Salted Sanctuary Soap is going to be one of our panelists. And it's really just an opportunity to bring 3 women-owned businesses that we've seen pivot and really had to be strategic about the way they are doing business now. And we thought it would be great to bring them all together to ask them some questions and to kind of give you some space to maybe see some things or get inspired with some additional ideas, because we do understand that right now this is a difficult time for everybody, and sometimes it's hard to see the trees for the forest. So go ahead and save the date. We'll be sending out more information about this this week. And then next month's Rise on May 12th from 8 to 9, and it's going to be keeping in touch using email to build your businesses. So if we don't have anything else, Tracy?
I don't have anything else. I do just want to thank everyone. Mary, thank you. That was terrific. And thank you everyone for attending. And we hope to see you on some more of our live events.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, everyone, have a great day.
Thank you.